Hello and welcome to my tutorial about the fishing industry in Dwarf Fortress. In this video, I'm going to give you a overview about everything about fishing. After this video, you should be able to get your fisheries going the way you want them to. You should understand what the risks are and how to avert them, and I'll garner it with a couple of useful tips and tricks that will make your industry a little bit more efficient, I hope. So, first off, let's get on over the basics. To start fishing, you require a body of water, a Fisherdwarf, and a fishery. These are the three things that you require to make fishing somewhat useful. So here in the labor menu, you will find Fisherdwarves as a default job. You assign them, and when they are assigned, they will automatically look for a body of water to fish at, and then they'll try their luck. Fisherdwarves, they don't need any gear. According to legends, they use their beards as fishing poles. Some people say that they do such boring things like catch them with their hands. I'll leave that to your imagination. Be that as it may, your Fisherdwarf doesn't need any gear. That's a good thing. What they do require, though, is the fishery, like I said. You find it in the farming tab here. The fishery is the place where the fish gets prepared, so it can be eaten. Because everything you catch out of the river is not edible until you have prepared it at the fishery. The stuff you can fish, well, it depends on where you fish. If you fish in a river, you will find other stuff than when you fish in a murky pool or in a stagnant water. So the rule of thumb is whatever you fish out of the river is biome specific, and when you go and create artificial ponds and whatnot until they have enough size to create fish, it'll be usually stuff like pond turtles or the like. So, or here I have little stagnant pools that this time of the year they don't carry water, or do they ever? These things, they happen on your map, and more often than not you can fish there. I'm not going to go too deep into the rules of where you actually can find fish and where not, because that's a big topic on itself, like creating artificial rivers and the things. Own video topic. I'm not going to go too deep into there. If you want to know, just do what I talk about next, fishing zones. So when you don't want to let your Fisherdwarves fish everywhere, which is a very fine and sane sentiment, you will require to bring up fishing zones. So fishing zones are also a useful way of determining whether or not there is fish to be caught somewhere. Just draw a fishing zone over the area and make sure to include a spot of land as well, so water and land must be included, and then your Fisherdwarf will check this area out. But when we get on over to the labor menu, standing orders, the other tab, here you can, with a simple click, tell them to only fish in designated zones. I strongly recommend you to do so, because this way your dwarfs won't go all over the place, and you can control the whole thing better to make sure where there's going to be fished. So the fishery, though, let's get downstairs so you can see. By the way, this guy was fishing here at the wrong spot because he started that job before I assigned the zone. When a dwarf has something on his mind, a job or whatnot, they'll usually complete it before they realize that something has changed. So let's get downstairs to the fishery. The fishery is going to prepare your fish, and the beautiful thing about it is as soon as there is raw fish around, it automatically creates a job that says prepare that fish. So in that regard, it's a fully automated process that only requires you to catch fish. Since Fisherdwarves go on their work totally autonomously, usually you only need to assign a Fisherdwarf or two, build a fishery, build a kitchen, and you got food. Of course, it's not the safest way to do so, but you get the idea. So the next thing I want to talk about is what you can do here still, or as well, and it's catch live fish. So catch live fish is something that goes a little bit anti-intuitively, but it goes as follows. You will require an animal cage that you can make at your carpenter's workshop as soon as I find one. So animal trap. You can also make the animal traps at the metalsmith's forge. They can be made out of wood or out of metal. So once you have that cage, you assign the job to catch a live fish, and then the people will go and try to catch a live fish out of the body of water. If they drop the cage on the ground empty, there's nothing to catch live here. So for example, in this biome, I had to paste a fishing zone in that area to actually catch something live. So what to do with these live catches, I hear you say. So you can extract from raw fish, and then sometimes some fish types can have some extracts, fluids, whatnot. They don't have really much usage as of yet, but they are a valuable trade good. So the gist of it is, the process here is catching live fish and extracting from them for the sake of money. It's, I feel like it ain't fully implemented yet, because it feels like the things you can make with that are just not there, but yeah. I just wanted to introduce you how catching live fish and extracting works. If there is nothing to be extracted, you can just click the cage and then click the dump icon, and then it'll be removed from the cage. So that's how you catch live fish, although it ain't too useful as far as I know. If you know, let me know, and other people in the comment section. So the next thing I want to talk about is that some of the animals you catch while fishing, they have useful refuse. So here you see mussel shells, typical leftovers. Shells are wonderful stuff. With shells, you can make your crafts dwarfs happy. Just let me show you here. Where are you, crafts dwarf? Here. So you can make stuff out of shell. As you see there's a lot of stuff. And the most beautiful thing is basically everything can be decorated with shell. So all in all, if you have access to shell, you have access to a very cheap and reliable source of income. Also, worth mentioning, dwarves in strange moods sometimes ask specifically for shell. If you don't want to work with shell because it bothers you that you have to work with all this stuff, make sure to include the stuff in your refuse stockpile. If you don't want to have it, you gotta make sure that in your refuse stockpile you make sure that that shells are excluded. So it's like that was wrong. So this way. So this, if you have it like that, the shells that you find won't be landing in your general refuse area. You of course have to bring up a refuse area for the shells then. So that's basically now you know everything that you have, that you can do with fishing. So fishing is a very easy source of food and all, but here's a couple of nice tips and tricks that makes it easier. So your Fisherdwarves, they will just drop their stuff right next to where they were fishing. So it can be really useful to have a stockpile zone here right next to the Fisherdwarves that is configured for unprepared fish. So this way you will have a delivery system. Your haulers will get that here, and then the next step that you can take for the sake of optimizing, you set up another stockpile zone in the vicinity of the fishery, like that. Here it ain't optimal, but it's more for the demonstration. So we get on over again to the to that, do a duplicate of that, and then we link them that this here, click there, this stockpile is now going to configure that it will take items from the one above ground. So if you're wondering why the hell are you doing this way your haulers will pick up the fish that your fishermen just dropped on the ground. So here, for example, they just love to drop the stuff just on the ground where they're standing, and then your haulers will put the fish into the stockpile zone, and then they will put the fish from one stockpile zone to the next stockpile zone, because the stockpile zones request from each other, and this way the fish will be transported as fast as possible to your fisheries. Because the thing is, a fish cleaner is able to clean that fish really fast if he is supplied logistically well. If he has to walk all the way up to the river and down to his fishery then again to transport the things, you will have way more rotten fish. That's a very, very cool thing to note. The other thing that I want to talk about here is, if you have a fishing area and you feel like, oh, this is dangerous and whatnot, you can just build a box around it. So you basically go and build walls around your fishing place, And downstairs in the water, well, you can go as you want to. You can bring up floodgates if you really want to go hard into the engineering or grates to keep enemies out, but basically it's not that important. You build a box around, make sure to include a roof, and you build a staircase downstairs, making sure that your fisher dwarf can enter the box from underground and then do his fishing there and escape underground yet again. Bonus points if you surround that box with fortifications and these. Also worth noting, your fisher dwarves can fish through floor grates. So you can secure yourself this way from any intruders. You just smack a floor grate on the tile, and basically you could build a little bit of a house to make yourself safer. But be sure that aquatic intruders still will have their way, and it's kind of hard to get them out. The other thing is less easy to say, but overall a very, very valuable tip. Try to work on the safety of your fisher dwarfs. Give them a place where they can do their job without being snooped down by wild animals and whatnot. But you can also use your fisher dwarfs, for example, if we'd had a subterranean access to this one here with a quick exit, you can also use that as a sentry spot for any monsters entering the map stealth. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the fishing industry. If you have any cool tips, tricks, and strategies that I haven't found out so far, feel free to share in the comment section, because as usual, I'm so happy. The more knowledge is around here, the more people watching this video can take out of it for their own fortresses, and that's what I'm after. So, like I said, comments, no further explanations necessary. Leave a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. This helps me so much, you wouldn't believe how much. And playlist link is in the description box leading to all the other tutorials I made, or also a playlist link to a Let's Play tutorial series for beginners going through all the jazz from the beginning with all the mistakes that a beginner could do. Good stuff. So, thanks for watching, thanks for being still around here, and I hope to see you next time as well.